This is Sonia. Welcome you to my first ever broadcast for my book club. This is something that I have wanted to do for some time now. I started studying about probably 3 years ago, and what I was learning, I decided that this is something that I should share with people that I know. And one way in which I wanted to do it was to have a book club. But at first, I had thought about having a book club at my home, but then, your awareness increases. And so I decided that I've got to the stage now where I decided I would do it on social media. So here I am doing my first book club. And of course, it's called the Millionaires Book Club because based on what we will be learning every Saturday morning now going forward is can really give you anything that you want in life. It can give you, if you want money, you can have it. If you want health, you can have it. If you want happiness, you can have it. Anything that you want, you can have it because everything is based on principles. Everything is based on laws. And last weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we were in Los Angeles and at Bob Proctor's Paradigm Shift seminar. And what Bob really does, I have some little notes jotted down here. What Bob does at his seminars is, all right, before that, I'll just back up a little bit and tell you how I got into Bob Proctor. A few years ago, I got into network marketing. And I heard the very successful people in network marketing speaking about their success. And they did not speak about working hard. They really love what they do. And I heard them talking about gratitude, forgiveness, being happy. They always mention books that you should read. And of course, I would go and get these books. And in reading, I realized that what I thought was important in getting to change your life, say probably have more money, have more health and so on, it was completely different from what these people were saying. And so I read, and as I read, I shared what I was reading. And this young lady, she used to travel with me to work because her car had an accident. And one day I heard her listening to a video, and the video was talking about the laws of the universe. And this person did sound very knowledgeable because I'd heard about the laws, that the universe was governed by laws a few years earlier. And I understood that there were more than one laws. I thought it was just a law of attraction. Anyway, I said to her, "Who is that?" And she said, "It's Bob Proctor." And I said to her, I thought he only spoke about the law of attraction, which he did speak about in The Secret. So I asked her to send me the video, and she did. I went on, I looked at it, I went to his website, and next thing you know, the next day, I was in his 13-month coaching program. So I got coached by Bob with other people from around the world. No, not single. That would cost me like $150,000 for 6 months. So we got into the coaching program. We went through a lot of his programs, and I started attending his seminars. I streamed a few seminars, and then last October, I went to his seminar for the first time. And this time around in February, I decided, when I left the seminar in October, I decided I will bring 7 people. I will purchase a table. A table is for 8 people. And that is exactly what I did. I used the principles that I was being taught, and I got those 7 people without any real effort. And so Bob's seminar went by last weekend. It was called the Paradigm Shift. And as we go along, we will understand what a paradigm is, and because he really covered that. But Bob's seminars, when I look back at them, they really give you an overall picture of how the universe works and who you are. He doesn't tell you what to go out and do to probably, let's say you're in marketing He doesn't tell you you have to do so and so to get clients, you have to do the action steps that people normally do. He doesn't really tell you that. He tells you what's happening inside of you, what your thought pattern has to be in order to get the clients that you want. I have listened to seminars where they tell you to pay your credit card off, you need to do this, that, and that. That's not what Bob teaches. What Bob teaches are principles, and these principles can be applied to every single aspect of your life. These principles are biblical principles, if you're from the Christian faith, but I don't really read other books from other religions, but Bob does. And he says, when you get away all the fringes, all the fluffing, all religions are saying the same thing. And they have the same basic belief. And this is what he teaches. So in general, usually his call to action during his seminar is to continue reading, to continue studying, because you have to study to understand what he's really talking about. And the seminar is really an entry to this. It's really an entry to increasing your awareness. He encourages growth, and to grow you must understand, and you have to understand the mind, and that will only happen through studying. And so this group was put together by me because I realized that after seminars, people go back home, they go back to their normal environment, and things just roll right back to what it used to be. And so this seminar would really have been wasted. The money spent on the ticket, the hotel, the airfare, that would have been wasted. And you can prevent waste by simple getting together with someone and studying. Actually, this is what I did 3 years ago. I would study every morning with a friend who she's my friend now. She was in a mastermind group from the coaching program. And we study every morning, well, nearly every morning. And that is why I have really kept up, because it's not something that's particularly easy to do, because you're changing some habits. And sometimes you have to have someone who holds you accountable. And so she and I held each other accountable. And even if we didn't want to study because we know the other person is waiting, then we actually do go study. And by studying with her, because she was studying a long time before I did, so many things became clear. So that along with Bob. Now, Bob also talks about, well, he says you really have to understand yourself. And that is so true. And that is what he goes into. And I just want to quote, who is it now? Socrates. And Socrates said, employ your time in improving yourself, so you shall come easily by what others have labored hard for. And Bob has studied under Earl Nightingale. And Earl Nightingale had spent about 13 years searching to find the secrets of success. And when Bob found it, when Bob studied what Earl Nightingale had spent 13 years to find, his life shifted. When he studied what Napoleon Hill had spent 20 years to put together, his life shifted. However, it took Bob 9.5 years to understand what really happened. And so when Bob found out what really happened to have caused that huge shift in his life, he said he was going to spend the rest of his life teaching it. And he was going to teach it all over the world. Now, this was in 1961. And right now, Bob sometimes share his knowledge streams to 130 other countries. So he is really teaching what he learned all over the world. And when it comes to learning what Socrates said, what others have labored hard to do, what Bob took 9.5 years to understand, he tells us in 2.5 days at his seminar. So you see, as we move along, the information that we need to know to really move our life to a different, to another level, doesn't require this long extended study, especially now with technology. Because what we're doing now, years ago, we couldn't have done this. I could not be talking to people all over the world, but technology has made this possible. Bob could not have streamed to 130 odd countries, but technology has made it possible. So really and truly, if you really understand what's going on, you can have a shift in your life in just a few years. Some people make a shift in a few months, but it takes study. And by study, I do not mean what we did at high school or university or traditional schools. No. I mean things like seminars, media like this, where someone shares what they have learned. I mean, listening to YouTube videos. I mean, listening to audiobooks while you're walking, while you're cooking, while you're driving. You are getting information. That's what we mean by studying. Okay? Now, when it comes to information, we get information from two sources based on what people have learned in the past that's been passed down and made easier to understand. Because some of the books that Bob studied, like Troward, it hurts your brain to understand it. But then he understands it, and he makes it easier for us to understand. Now, you have people who have come up with original information, is what I call it. Like, for example, Albert Einstein. When Einstein had his theory of relativity, I think it was, the scientists looked at his work, and actually they were looking for footnotes, for references. And when they did not see any references, they realized that what Albert Einstein had written was something that he originated. Now, how do you get this knowledge? This knowledge, it's for people who are asking so deeply that they make contact with the divine within themselves. They're searching so deeply. They make contact with this this power within them. They document, and so we learn. Neil Donald Walsh, I don't know how many people are familiar with him. His conversations with God, he was asking so deeply because he was at a point in his life where everything was just so difficult. And he really cried out to God as to why everything was so difficult for him. And God answered. God said, do you want to know what? He said, yes. And when he really came out of his, I want to say, call it a trance, he had written a book. He didn't know how he had written it. But what he wrote came from a source deep within. And not many people can do that. That's how we get our information. And as we go along, people like Bob will come along and put it in a capsule. Like Bob said, if I could put this information in a syringe and inject you in your butt with it, I would do it. And, well, this is us injecting what Bob has learned all these years. For 50 odd years, he has been teaching this. All right, so that is an overview of Bob's seminars, really. It's principles. His seminars are principles. You have to study to understand these principles, and when you study and understand, your entire life will be shifted. Your health will be shifted. Your wealth will be shifted. Your happiness will be shifted. Just everything will be shifted. Now, I chose to start studying. We'll go over the seminar material because I know some people actually went to the seminar. At least there are 8 of us there. And there were streamers as well. Now, I chose to use Earl Nightingale's The Strangest Secret. And there's a personal reason I did that. I was introduced to a CD when I was in network marketing. And this young man, I listened to his CD, he had shifted his life where he had $1,000 in his bank account. And in a year, it was about 2.5 years, he became a multi-millionaire. And when I listened to his CD, I realized that these people who were so extraordinarily successful, they read, they studied. And he mentioned a bunch of people who he studied, I never knew of any of them. The only one I knew of was Earl Nightingale. So of course I went out and bought The Strangest Secret. So that for me was my introduction to personal development. And I said when Earl Nightingale said, it's your thoughts that determine how successful or not successful you are, I said I was not going to stop until I got to the bottom of this. I was going to find out how it works. Of course, I didn't realize that I was given the universe instructions, and that's exactly what I did. And it's something, you just have to keep learning all the time. And that part of the book I actually had posted on the Millionaires Club site. That particular book, you can get it from Amazon for maybe $2. And it's also in audible form on YouTube. So if you don't have a chance to sit down and read, you can listen while you're driving. All right? So those are the books. That's the book we are going to study. And we're going to study it for a month because it's a short book. And the reason I chose that book as well is that Earl went and gave a broad picture of what causes success. And if you listen to it carefully, you will see he doesn't really pinpoint. Well, he does go over one or two principles, but it was just a broad thing. Just like Bob's seminars, it's a broad thing. But now you have to go in and pinpoint the different areas and really study and understand them and start applying them to your life. So that's what we're going to do for the next month. All righty. Now, no one has read the book yet, so I'll just go over the seminars because, like I said, some people went over the seminars, and just a few points we'll go over because really and truly I've just gone over like the first half a day. And what Bob really got into in trying to let us understand ourselves, he went into the fact that the person we see in the mirror is not really who you are. That person in the mirror is just maybe a few percentage of who you really are. This man, Whitman, he said, you're not all contained between your hat and your boots. There is a bigger part to you. There's a spiritual part that just extends, I guess, all over the place, really. And this spiritual part of you is everywhere. It's all knowing. It's connected to what some people call God. And so what Bob teaches to make huge shifts in your life is that you have to understand your spiritual self. You have to make connection with your spiritual self. And we have been given the faculties to do that. But how many people know our mental faculties? Your will, your memory, your imagination, your intuition, your perception. We don't really, not many people really even can name what they are, but we have to build these. And this is what Bob does through his, through some of his courses. Really let you build your mental faculties in that way you can use them as we were intended to use them to create the life we want. So he gets into that our spiritual DNA is perfect, and it is. So we who keep saying I am sick and I don't have any money, that sort of thing, that's not really so. It's that person that's looking at you in the mirror that's saying that. But when you make a deep connection with your inner self, you will find that it's not really so. Your inner self is perfect. And as you study and get to know your inner self, your life will shift. And that's what I realized. These people who are so very successful, making gazillions of dollars, if that's, if you want to look at success as that, those who are extremely healthy and so on, that's what they did. Athletes do it all the time. Athletes, Olympians, they make connection with a self that just deep. It's just that so many of them don't really understand what it is they did. Okay. Now, Bob went over goals. And like I said, this first lesson is just an overview. And he said there are 3 types of goals: the A goal, the B goal, and the C goal. And the A-type goals are those that you know how you can get. It's like you want a new car. You drive, you know how to get a car. The B-type goals are those that you think you know how you can do it. And these are, you know, if I get some money from over here and I make connection with that person, I can put it together and get this thing that I want. Maybe it's a luxury car or something, or a bigger house, or, you know, something like that. Now he goes into C-type goals. Now these are the only goals that Bob really talk about are the C-type goals, because these are goals that are so huge. These are goals that you get the urge, you get that deep desire that you would like to do, but because it seems so huge, you said there's no way I can do it. And really and truly, these desires are really the God in you pushing you to go and do something big, to do something that you will be so focused on, something that will just shift you to another level of awareness. These are what these desires are, but we have never done it before. We really don't know people who have made big shifts in their life, so we tell ourselves we cannot do it. But if you understand the spiritual self within you, then you can do it. And this is what Bob teaches. And he says a goal, which I've never heard this before, he said a goal is not necessarily to acquire something. A goal is to grow you. And I said, well, what's the point in having a goal if it's just to grow you, if it's not to acquire something? But what I realized through studying, yes, as your awareness grows, as your understanding grows, as your vibration shifts, your vibration goes to another level, and you can only attract to yourself what is vibrating at the same level that you are. And Bob goes into vibration, and we'll do a lot of vibration work as well. Because as your awareness increases, your level of vibration increases, and you can only attract what is vibrating at that level. So yes, to really increase yourself, increase the material things that you have in your life, your level of vibration must increase. You have to start thinking differently. Now, when it comes to thoughts, Bob went into, and I keep saying Bob because that's who I learned these things from. Bob went into us thinking, and he said, you know, we think in pictures, and we cannot stop thinking. And the only tools that we got to create our life is our thoughts. And Earl Nightingale goes into that. It's our thoughts that we use to create our lives. We attract with our thoughts. No one gives us anything. Looking at it from a physical level, it appears that people are giving us things. No, we attract everything that we have. And as we study, we will understand this. Now, not only it's not only what we think, it's how we think what we think. And here we'll talk about the law of polarity and so on to really show us how to think. For example, how do we think about money? Let's say our bank account is negative, you know, or near negative. How do we think about that? If we start seeing our bank account as negative and near negative, it will continue to be negative. And you have two ways of thinking about your bank account. You can think that my bank account is going to be so much more. That's a positive thought. And if you keep thinking that, you start vibrating at a higher level. Next thing you know, you start coming up with ideas of how to earn some more money, and your bank account will definitely increase. But if you're just focusing on, oh, my bank account is negative, it will forever be negative. So it's not only what you think, it's how you think about it. He went over desire, and of course, all of these little areas we will go into in much more detail as we study. You'll hear people say, I have no energy. Every person has the same amount of energy. Every person. Because we're all connected to the same source. And we can pull from that source. It's like electricity. If you want to tap into the electricity that is running through your house. And if you plug in a 100-watt bulb, a 50-watt bulb, or a 20-watt bulb, you're going to get a totally different response. And it's the same way. You have this total 100% energy flowing through you. And what is released depends on you. And what really causes energy to be released is your desire. And so you will hear, and when you read, the authors will focus on you having a deep desire for this thing, because that is what gives you the energy to move forward and go through whatever challenges you will go through to achieve the results you want. So desire is what releases energy. And like I said, desire is God tapping at the door of your mind, trying to give us greater good. God knocking at your door, hey, wake up, do this. Oh, no, I can't do that. It's just out of my reach. No, you can. But you have to understand the laws, and you have to understand who you are. Okay, the laws of the universe, we'll definitely go over those one by one as time goes on. But nothing in the universe happens by chance. There's no luck. There are no miracles. It's what we call miracles are just the effects of unknown causes. We do not know what caused the things that are happening around us. And as we study, we realize that these things are due to our thoughts. And everything is governed by law in this universe. Everything is governed by law. And so that is why you can set humongous goals. And we will show, and with Bob, how to get in alignment with your goals so that they can be achieved, because everything is governed by law. Absolutely everything. Your bank account, your health, everything. It's just laws. We either live in alignment with these laws or we don't. When we live in alignment with the laws, we have beautiful lives. When we don't, we have a mess. And most people have a mess. And I'm trying to clear up my mess. That's why I'm actually here working with Bob. Now, Sandy mentioned that if you want to change something in your life, you do not try and change what's already there, because it's already created. You cannot change what's already created. You have to build a new model and work from that new model that you have built. For example, if you, I explain this in this way, if you had made a chocolate cake, you made a chocolate cake for your daughter's birthday, and your daughter at the last moment said, no, I want a pineapple cake. I don't care what you do. You cannot change that chocolate cake into a pineapple cake. You have to build a new model. You have to go get some pineapple, some more eggs and butter and sugar, and make a pineapple cake. And so all the things that are happening in our lives, we have already created. If you have a spouse and you have a difficult relationship with the spouse, you cannot change that relationship by beating on what's already there. You have to go back to the drawing board, gather some, and your drawing board is your thoughts. Gather some new thoughts, look at things differently, and move forward with that. It's like Sandy mentioned, she when she had to pull all these companies together, she realized that she was beating against a brick wall. So she quietly sat down, decided exactly how she wanted her company, what the relationship is going to do between them, the type of people she was wanting in her company. She focused on it, and guess what? She built a new model, and that's what she got. Okay? Self-confidence. The goal that we go after, or after you have made contact with Bob, you will be going after big goals, believe me. You will have to have self-confidence to do that. And self-confidence is so extremely important that when Napoleon Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich, you know, that book that he researched, he did a research for 20 years before he actually put it together. He actually put in that book a self-confidence formula. And my confidence has gone through the roof, because when I studied with Bob, we had to read that self-confidence formula every day. And my partner and I, when we study, the first thing that we do in the morning, well, we actually, it's not really the first thing. The first thing is that we go through a chapter in Proverbs, because Bob mentioned Proverbs. There are 31 chapters, and he said he reads one every day. So, of course, we are going to do what Bob did. And so we read a chapter from Proverbs every day, but in a version that is not the King James version, in a version that is more easily understood. And right, so the self-confidence, I sort of lost my train of thought there. You have to really work on that. And that self-confidence formula, I'll be posted on my website, lifepotentialglobal.com, so that everyone can have access to it. But it's actually in Think and Grow Rich. That's where you get that. The mind, Bob, really, nobody teaches the mind like Bob does. And when you understand how the mind works, with his example of the stick person, to show exactly what's happening when you have your thoughts, it just shifts you to another level. Because like I said, we think in pictures, and when you can create a picture of what is happening with you when you think, then your results will happen so much quicker. You will be able to make changes in the way you're thinking when the results are not what you want, because it's always how you think, not what anyone else does to you. It's always how you think. In fact, the way you think will determine what people do to you. Now, Sandy talked about gratitude, love, and guidance, and that's a call to action, which I'll also give on this call. Um, every morning for the past, well, Bob says do it, so we went ahead and did it anyway. Every morning, the first thing that we do is write down 10 things that we are grateful for, and really feel the gratitude. Then we show love. You know, the universe is built on love anyway. You know that. Show love to 3 people who bother you. Showing love to people who are okay with you, that really count. But to show love to people who are a pain, that requires something from deep down. But you show love and you ask for guidance. These 3 things just really shift you to another level, because what you're trying to do all the time is to get yourself um, in a vibration where things are just, there's no resistance, things are just easy flowing for you. And giving gratitude, when you're grateful for every single thing. I mean, I'm sitting out here in Florida sunshine, and I'm so grateful for this, because I was in Canada the other day, and no, it wasn't anything like that. Just being grateful that you can be listening to this, just being grateful that technology, everything. There's just so many things you can be grateful for. Not only the things that are good, but the things that you consider to be bad or difficult, because they really aren't. They're there to grow you. And when you work through them, you will realize when you come out on the other side, you would have grown so much. So give gratitude really helps. And Sandy mentions in her talk at the Paradigm how this man's business, really, he saved his business by doing exactly this, writing 10 things he's grateful for every morning, and showing love and asking for guidance. Because you have to remember, it's not you, the person looking in the mirror, who is doing the work. There is a force behind you. That divine force, that's universal. That's what does the work for you. All you have to do is put the thoughts out. And when you understand this, really understand it at a deep level, then you realize that your word doesn't have to be that hard. And I did post on Facebook that that image where Bob says, it doesn't matter how hard you work, it doesn't matter how many hours you work, until you shift your paradigm, nothing will change. And that is so true. And of course, we'll go through all of that too. I'm just so excited about all of this. Change. We have to shift our paradigm. We have to change the way we think. We have to shift our self-image. We have to do all of that stuff. And we are changing every day. The person we are today is not the person we are yesterday. The cells and everything have changed. However, personal development is something that is a choice. And although we are changing every day, change is inevitable. You must change. You must change physically, but are you changing mentally? And if you do not change mentally, you will remain at the same place. you will remain at the same place. So the only thing that will help you to change is personal development. And it's not something that gonna fall out of the sky on you. Although these days it's like it's falling out of the sky. You just go to YouTube, choose a video, it gives you a whole bunch of similar videos. You just listen up. You don't even have to go to the library and fill out a library card and go search through a book. No, you don't have to do any of that anymore. You go to Amazon, you search for a book on Amazon, Amazon will do the search for you. Amazon shows you your book that you want, and Amazon will say, the people who brought this book and this book and this book, and you have a string of books that are similar to the one you're buying. So you do not even have to search for the stuff. It just comes to you. So personal development now is so easy. Headphones, iPhone, boom. You're going for your 2-mile walk, or you're working out at the gym, you're listening. You're doing two things at the same time. But you must develop yourself. You must increase your level of awareness to really even understand how this life works. And they say that only about 3 to 4% of people really understand. And these are the people who really control the world. These are the people who, they say 97% of the income is controlled by 3% of the people. And some people are envious of them and so on. But you can't do that, because that will make things worse for you. And the other 3% of the wealth is controlled by 97% of the people. And that is true. And they also say, if you should take that wealth and divide it equally among every single person on this earth, in no time, it will go right back into the hands of the 3%, because they really understand how to create wealth. They really understand how to build. They really understand how the universe works. They really understand themselves. And so you see it all the time. Let's say a person who wins the lotto. In less than 5 years, that person is even worse off than they were. Because winning the lotto and you getting all this money defies all the laws. You will never keep it. You cannot keep it, because your subconscious mind doesn't even understand that. But when you learn what I have learned and continue to learn, then you would understand what to do to even keep the lotto if you win it, or even prepare yourself how to win it. Vibration. Bob talks about vibration, and most people probably know about the law of attraction, but behind the law of attraction is a bigger law, and that's the law of vibration. And basically, the law of vibration says everything vibrates, and things are vibrating so fast that they appear to be standing still. And when you understand the law of vibration, then you will really understand the law of attraction. Because I remember when I started studying this, I couldn't understand how they say the law of attraction, like attract like. And so let's say cancer, a disease. How could I have wanted that? How could I have attracted that? And it's not that a person say they're reading up about cancer all the time, they're focused on cancer. Well, if you do, chances are it will happen anyway. It's not that. It's that these diseases are at a certain level of vibration. They're vibrating at a certain frequency. And if you find yourself in this frequency all the time, you will attract whatever is there on that frequency. And that is how a lot of people get ill. It's negative thoughts, it's doubt, and we all have doubt. It's fear, we all have fear. It's anger, it's hatred, it's jealousy, it's all those negative emotions. And if you keep them up all the time, they are at a frequency of vibration. You will attract other things that are in harmony with that frequency. And so when you attract these things, they have to express themselves, and they express themselves in your body. Illness, bank account with no money, all sort of crazy things. Likewise, if you're vibrating at a very high level, you attract things that would be of similar vibration. Um, Another thing, I because this is the first call, I don't think we really have to go on to a whole hour. There is a person on YouTube that I really would want to introduce to everyone, and her name is Dr. Caroline Leaf, and she is a person, a lady who has been. She does her platform for teaching is in the churches, and she's the only person that I know who bridges the teachings of religion with the teachings of science, because she's a scientist. And some of these principles that we talk about, she goes over them. And she really shows you how your thoughts, and she goes, I mean, she's a neuro person, so she goes into how your brain is structured and all the things that's happening with you. And so that's someone, when you have time, just Google, not Google, YouTube, Dr. Caroline Leaf, CAROLINELEAF, and listen to her videos. And that will, because one person cannot teach you everything. Every person, teacher have their specialty. Bob is the mind and shifting your paradigm. Neville Goddard is your feelings. The Abrahams, they are getting in alignment. So different people teach different things. They all go over the same thing, but they take an area and really expand on it. And so for you to get the complete picture, you have to really pick up teachings from these different people. And that's what I have done over the course of the 3 years that I have been studying. So I'm going to sort of cut off there for today. I have an email that you can email me any questions. It's hello, HELLO, at Sonya, SONYA Hilton, HYLTON.com. And you can always visit my website, lifepotentialglobal.com. I will be posting a bunch of stuff going forward, because my what I really want to do is to share as much of what I know with the people I know and the people I meet, because 98% of the world really need to understand how things work, that they create their life with their thoughts. And that's my mission, really. And I guess that's it for today. So get into The Stranger's Secret by Earl Nightingale. You can get it from Amazon. It's just a few dollars. Or you can listen, for people who don't like to read with their eyes, and they prefer to listen with their ears. And you can also, I think they have an Audible as well. Since on YouTube, people can take their videos down. So whatever I find on YouTube that I really love, I usually will go to Amazon and buy it, or buy the Audible or the printed version. Oh, and before I forgot, those pictures I posted about how gratitude and love affects your body. And Dr. Emoto, he did studies, and I heard about this in network marketing. You hear so much in network marketing, because to be successful, they have to share what they learn. And that's how I learned these things. And he did these experiments on water. And I think my son also posted somewhere, whatever you say to water, it will change the crystalline structure. And so when they froze the water and looked through the microscope at these structures, they saw there was a huge difference in the formation of the crystals based on the thoughts that you're giving it. If you're giving positive thoughts to these crystals, they form perfect, to the water, they form perfect crystals. If you were giving negative thoughts, then those crystals were all a big blob. And so experiments were done. I posted the results of some of that on the website, and you can get the book. It's just interesting reading. It gets really, really deep. It gets mathematical and all of that, but there are parts there that anyone can understand. And so when Sandy and Bob talks about gratitude, forgiveness, love, you have to understand that every single thought that you think affects your body. Every thought. And this medium that you're working with, your subconscious mind is so sensitive that you don't even have to, I mean, when you speak something, you have so focused and crystallized it that it's like it must happen. So your body is composed of 98% water. They say your brain is like 90% water. And when you see this experiment and see what thoughts, how thoughts change its crystal structure, then you will start paying attention to what you are thinking. So this is it. It was a pleasure. I love to share this information. Today it was a bit all over the place because I was just doing an overall thing. But come next week, we'll start with The Stranger's Secret. We'll delve into that. Listen to it every day. It will start changing the way you think. All right? Send me a video, an email, or you can, post your comments on the website. I look at it and I'll reply accordingly. And have a fantastic day. Bye now.